Very well. Excellent.
He doesn't want to wait in bed, so wait like him. Hey, as a reggae man, you understand the thing. The man say, I don't want to wait. Exactly.
Yes. Thanks for the moment of levity. I invite the member for South Leeward. Honourable
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member, you may begin.
Thank you.
Yes, honourable members.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I rise to make my contribution to the 2025 budget debate. And I find it very interesting that Minister James is saying Shadow Minister for Roads. You know, there was a time that I made a presentation about 2 years ago, and there was a radio host that said, I get the road march because I'm only talking about road. The following year, a budget was presented to this House called the Roads Budget. So I'm quite fine, very happy to be the Shadow Minister. But it's an absolute shame, Madam Speaker, that I have to be speaking the same thing over and over and over to a shameless bunch of people who are running the affairs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Madam Speaker, I've listened to the budget presentation by the Honourable Minister of Finance. And I keep saying to myself that we've been here before. There was a time when the Vincentian people anxiously awaited the presentation of the budget because they knew that in that budget presentation there was something to look forward to, something that was going to change their lives for the better. So many people glued to their radios. The old school method. Today, they're on their phones and they're watching television as well. But those very people are no longer enthusiastic about the budget because they do not have any great expectation. Because we have been here before. How many times have we heard that a record budget was presented to this Parliament? And having presented a record budget, Madam Speaker, for the financial or the fiscal year, what the people experience, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines experience from those record budgets, Madam Speaker. Record unemployment. Record rise in the cost of living. Record rise in crime. And record decline in the standard of living and the quality of life of the people. That is what people understand from listening to the budget, because they know it. And they say, who feels it, knows it. So in as much as we've had a colorful, boastful budget, filled with acronyms and theatrics, and I believe the more operative word there is the end part of theatrics, tricks. Because it is designed to try to fool our people. As I've said, we have been here before. We have heard this kind of presentation. We have seen this kind of presentation. We have seen the boasting and the antics. And it did not result in a better quality of life for our people. Madam Speaker, this budget of $1.8 billion, record budget. Last year it was $1.6 billion. And the people, by and large, know the hardship that they experienced after that $1.6 billion budget was presented. So what is the expectation this year? And let me just say that $1.8 billion is having $1,000 million one way and 800 million the other way. That is $1.8 billion that is being presented here. So we're talking about a hell of a lot of money. But how are the people of this country going to benefit from that? From that grand total? Madam Speaker, certainly the people of South Leeward cannot say that they have benefited in any way from the budget, the routine budgets that have been presented in this House. And for those persons who would want to doubt, and all the naysayers, I have been coming to the Parliament, having been elected in 2010. And I recall one Minister of Transport and Works stated in this House that I am asking the same questions over and over as if I don't have anything else to ask. But it was an indictment on that minister and an indictment on this government, because I should not have to be asking the same questions. For all these years, this is the year of our Lord 2025. And the first question, Madam Speaker, as I came to this Parliament, I remember the very, very first question that I asked. It was the same question that I asked, the first question that I asked of my 3 questions for the estimate presentation from 2010. We're talking about this is 2025, and I'm still asking the same question.
Shame. Wow.
So how are the people of South Leeward benefiting from this government? The way I say it, Madam Speaker, this is a government that really cares nothing about these people. They talk a good talk. I've asked so many questions. And in all that big money budgets, all I am hearing, it is not on Brax's work for this year. None of Brax's work for the subvention that they get. It is not in the estimate. And even if those projects appear in the estimates, Madam Speaker, absolutely nothing was done. So I am saying that these are, Madam Speaker, a bunch of people who serve no interest but that of their own. And when we are at the eve of election, they give the people the bare minimum and expect that that's going to sway them to vote for you. I'm saying the people of South Leeward and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines generally should understand the playbook of this government. I heard when I asked the question who's benefiting from this budget, a minister on the government side whispered. When I asked who's benefited, he said, you. But clearly, I'm not the beneficiary. But I can tell you, and I can tell the Vincentian public, that the chief beneficiaries of the presentation of $1.8 billion standing on that side of the House, or sitting over there. They are the ones who are benefiting. They are the ones who have positioned themselves in various ways to get most of the resources that are circulating, that are available to this country. And the poor people get next to nothing. That is why, there's a scripture that says, unto him that has more shall be given. That is your mantra. And to him that has not, even that which he appears to have shall be taken away. You're robbing the poor and you're enriching yourselves. That is what you've been doing over the years. That has to stop, Madam Speaker. It is time that we have a more equitable distribution of the wealth of this country. Madam Speaker, the man with the road march. South Leeward has been a constituency that has been totally neglected. And I know that there's a certain scribe sitting over there who writes down everything that I say. Well, write this down. This road from Elsa Daniel to Vinderham in Camden Park, madam. Not Elsa Daniel, from Keita Delplesh to Vinderham. First question I've ever asked, it is about this road. And, you know, this government or the Unity Labour Party, sometimes it's hard to distinguish one from the other. They find pride and comfort in occupying the Camden Park Secondary School, built by the New Democratic Party government. Less than 50 yards away from where this road is located. So they're there every year and they know about the condition of this road. Promises were made that they would fix this road. Up to today, nothing has been done. And you know, Madam Speaker, this is a road in the rainy season. Long after rain came and stopped, a swamp. I remember during the COVID situation, I came to this parliament and I was making a reference here saying, people talking about COVID as a public health emergency. Yes, it was. But there was a public health emergency in Camden Park as well, in that road. It's mosquito infested, that place. Children have to be walking there to go to school. I've seen children walking with several pairs of shoes. Some of them tying their shoes, you know, in plastic bags to walk through those waters. Madam Speaker. Yeah? Not so long ago, a lady fell ill who lived just above this road. And they are in dire need of a footpath. Well, not so much of a footpath, but some steps going up there. So when I heard that the lady was sick, I went there because her family were overseas, so they contacted me. I got some people who went up on the hill. It was raining. It was slippery. It was messy. That lady, you know, when they talked to her, her voice, she was barely audible. So sick. So we said, do you want us to call the ambulance? She said no. You know what was her reason? She preferred to take the chance, ride out her illness at home, hoping that she'll recover, because there was a greater probability of dying or getting worse if we were to take her off that slippery hill, Madam Speaker. And this is a government of coming here, asking these questions. The total lack of empathy, the total lack of care of what you have for the most part, Madam Speaker, whenever we present issues, is the giggling, the laughing, the boasting, not caring about what people go through. I'm saying to these people, the New Democratic Party will do that road. And the time is fast approaching when we will be given the opportunity to get that road fixed. Amen. Another road, Madam Speaker, this is not as bad. A road from Dodo, between Dodo, Young, and Elsa Daniel. Every election they come in and they measure in this road. When the election is done, they take gone. They drop materials. When the election is done, they take up back the materials. Don't talk about the Bottom of the Hill road. I noticed in the budget, you know, there is something here, and this is not the first time I'm noticing that a road in Kitels is to be done. And sometimes I wonder which road in Kitels, because every time I come to ask a question about the Bottom of the Hill bypass road, that is a road by the junction at WFM there that can take you up to top Kitels. And I came here, I made an illustration. I made an observation. I had to go on Facebook, I had to go everywhere. Because whenever something happens on the main road, everybody has to be driving bottom kittels. And it's congestion. It is pandemonium down there, Madam Speaker. But it's a convenient bypass road started by the New Democratic Party to link bottom kittels with top kittels. That could have easily been done. You want to tell me after all these years you don't have the wisdom in doing it? Well, tell me. I hope the Minister of Finance will tell me which of the roads he has here in his budget in kittels. Because I see there's a notation in the bypass road. I'm watching to see. Bolomy Road, this road between the back of Jerry Scott there and the Bureau of Standards. People falling down there. One lady was hospitalized. It's the grace of God has her walking again because she damaged her back so badly. I've come here. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I went down to Clare Valley, asked about the Bedrock Road. People have to be walking on all fours when rain comes. The only time any attention was given to that piece of road is in 2005 when I sent a tractor there to grade it off. I was not even a member of the parliament at that time. And you've been in government, boasting about 24 glorious years of government, and the people are still walking on all fours. College Corner Road, Madam Speaker. I asked the question last parliament too. And they create the impression that so much work has to be done there, which is really not so. I'll run through this quickly because there's something else that I want to do, Madam Speaker. But I want to go village by village because this constituency is a neglected constituency. Carib Village Road. The entire strip of road needs to be repaved. Nothing is done. You go up to Kittels, top Kittels. There's an area above the old station there, Choice Hill, that link you with Cocoa, coming on by Matthias there. Very convenient roads. These are roads, Madam Speaker, that would make the lives of people better. And not just that, create employment for people because there's so many people who don't know where the next dollar is coming from. But you wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see it as priority because you never have a situation since you've been seated in this government to choose between who you're going to send to school, who of your children are you going to send to school, what you're going to give them to eat. Find all methods of creating employment, not just 7 and 8 days on the road. Madam Speaker, in Meriki and in Carco, a wonderful, I invite any one of you to go up there and take a look. I speak this to your shame. I came here also to talk about Leeward Hill Road, Madam Speaker. Big Bush. Big Bush. That road that can easily link you between Welland and the low-income house in Clare Valley. People finding it so hard to use that road, whether you're using a vehicle or you're walking. Just about 400 meters, Madam Speaker. And nothing is done. Across the Catholic Church, there's a road going up above Miss Abraham there, Ethel Abraham. People land, Madam Speaker. We have, subjected to serious erosion whenever it rains. They are reaching out to me. I'm coming to the parliament. I am their emissary. Only to be faced with roadblock, constant roadblock by this government. Because you have no interest in what people are feeling. Just before last election, Madam Speaker, in all of South Leeward, there was this solitary road in a big budget, in $1 billion budget to be done in South Leeward. You know? One Bay One road. And you know what that road was? A footpath below the cemetery at Rolling Hill. Election come and gone, and so is the road in the budget. You can't find it in the estimate again. They didn't do it. Thank you, Major. I know Princess Miller was never going to forgive me if I did not talk about her road. This old lady, close to 80 years old, have to be walking in swamp. When you walk, take a piece of board and try to make a bridge in Camden Park, the Coconut Range. So I have to be the Shadow Minister of Roads. Because I guarantee you, the day we get into office, by the grace of God, which shall not be too long from now, there will be so much activities in that constituency. Galen Carter Road in Welland. These are all names of roads that are familiar. Look, check the Hansard, see how many times I've asked them. Nothing. In Riverdale, Pembroke. I talk so much about that road. They started, they concrete one part of the road, and not even the entire road, one side of one part of the road. And it is there. Whenever it rains, a lot of water comes down from the hillside, and the entire place is flooded. People, yards become swimming pools. There's a problem of drainage that I've been talking about here and nothing, Madam Speaker. Cane Grove. That I'm sure a senator on the government side knows very well. Wonderful houses there. Terrible piece of road to get there. And you can't fix that? Not even where your senator resides? Come on, man. No. I know where she is. Trust me, I know where she is. No. We used to play that game long ago. All right, Madam Speaker. Those are principally the roads that I want to register. I want to be noted again to show the neglect. Those are the little things that we talk about. The government talks about getting the little things right and cannot get these things right up to now. All talk and no action. Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition yesterday talked about some roads that have been recurring decimals. Yes, Verivine. Before I came to this parliament, Verivine Road is in the estimate. Before. It is still here, 2025. Maloney. I say these are feeder roads. These are feeder roads. These are roads that take people to farmlands, Madam Speaker.
Good farmlands, too.
Very good farmlands. The relief of the area is conducive to cultivation. Yeah? It's gently sloping. So whenever the rain comes, it's not flat so that it's going to infiltrate and soak up there and kill the... Neither is it steep so that whenever rain falls, there's steady runoff. It is gently sloping so it percolates the soil. And it is good for agriculture. But this is a government that said that they are moving away from agriculture. Agriculture is a thing of the past. So for the people of Vermont who rely heavily on agriculture, that is their livelihood. That is a way of life, Madam Speaker. But this government doesn't see it fit to try to facilitate the production or the continuation, the perpetuation of that certain way of life of the people. So they are very methodical and systematic in their approach to make sure that they strip people from their economic independence. So you have all these roads which are so poorly kept. It is a deterrent to farming. Because the more people that come to you with a begging bowl, the more the merrier. You feel empowered. You feel you can give them the bare minimum, and they would be beholden unto you. That is exactly the way you function. But it is time for the people of Vermont to wake up and understand that for your loyalty to this government over the years, they don't give you anything except I come here and make a lot of noise with them. The roads were so bad. The community center was deplorable. I had to come here to this parliament to make noise and embarrass them for them to go down there like a reluctant werewolf to do it. Madam Speaker, the New Democratic Party will place emphasis on the revival of agriculture. We will fix the feeder roads, and we will also introduce a method of mechanization so that the traditional methods of tilling the soil, you can do it if you want to, but we're going to make it easier for you, more attractive for you. You can carry your implements to your farm and you can bring your produce out easier. You can count on the New Democratic Party because agriculture is one of the pillars of development when we get into government. Madam Speaker, housing. I've never seen my pal, the Minister of Housing, pamper said so much. He said, boy, careful. You carry on. Bust. But you know, it's always, listen, it's always easier. It is always best to spend other people's money. If you raise all that money of your own initiative to build 1,000 homes, to repair homes, I'll applaud you. But this is a government, Madam Speaker, that seem to find a climate of disaster conducive for them to operate in. Madam Speaker, they thrive on disasters. When we don't want to see a hurricane come here, I think that there are people who are praying, Lord, let it come. I think, based on your actions, Madam Speaker, because that is how, Madam Speaker, this government receives money. And it is an easy way. You cannot, Sabi, you can say what you want. Say what you want. But Madam Speaker, every time there's a disaster, you come to the parliament. Every time. I said I believe that there are some people who do that. Because the more disasters come, the more you benefit. And you know what is the bad thing about this, Madam Speaker? The position to benefit from people's misfortune.
Yes.
That is the problem.
Yes. It's true. Yes.
Madam Speaker, we talk about so many homes which are being repaired. Stupidness? No.
Honourable members, I wish to hear the honourable members.
Listen to me. It hurts. I know.
Please continue, Honourable
I know
Member
it is.
for South Leeward.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you very kindly. I'll continue. I have been making... You were the last one balling or something if I ball it after. All right. Madam Speaker, you know, we talk a lot about climate change. And we know that our weather pattern is getting more extreme. It is something that we've been talking about here in the House for a long time. It is an established fact that weather phenomenon getting more severe. And as a representative, I always observe the structures, you know, the homes that I go to from time to time. Even when I'm not visiting and I'm just passing through, I'm observing. And Madam Speaker, I always make the point that given the fact that we're having more severe storms, it only took a category over a gentle breeze to blow off some roofs. You heard the leader of the opposition yesterday talk about a freak storm in Beckwith that wreaked havoc. I'm making the point, I've made that point before, Madam Speaker, that there are so many houses whose roofs are literally just tucked on. And that's before burial. I made that observation not only in South Leeward, throughout this country. And I've been making the point, rather than bringing in materials only at election time to be transactional, be more genuine. I came here, I asked this question before about the housing stock. How do we know which house did they repair? They said it was census. I don't know what kind of census it did. But that was the answer. They did a census, so they know which houses need repair. But Madam Speaker, burial lay bare the naked poverty of our people.
Right.
That is what happened. People who lost their roofs couldn't put them back on.
Up to now.
Some people got help and the rest on back the roofs. But when it rained, they had to be constantly switching around furniture and buckets to catch water, Madam Speaker. This is the reality. This is what people experienced, Madam Speaker. And for anybody that has, anyone that is genuinely concerned with the welfare of people, they will try to get those people roof restored as quickly as possible. I'm not saying that nothing is being done, but it is going too slow. Too slow, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one of the other things that I noticed is that people have been waiting and waiting in the government for the promised help to get the roof back on. So they have to be making a decision. Do I borrow money? Because I know people who borrow money to get the roofs back. Or do I wait on the government? But in between the decision of borrowing and waiting on the government, people are getting wet. It's very uncomfortable to live. But Madam Speaker, for those persons who, of their own initiative, restore their roofs, it is appalling when I heard Major ask a question on the behalf of some of his constituents. I'm sorry, yes. Thank you very kindly, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member, my Major. Yes, please. When he came to the Parliament and he asked questions on his constituents' behalf as to whether or not those persons who restore their own roofs, buy materials, put it on back, if they would be refunded, and I heard a resounding no from the government. Madam Speaker, This cannot be fair to these people. Because when this government, after this storm, they did an assessment. And we heard the Honourable Minister of Housing yesterday said that they employed a lot of people to work as assessors. They went out there in the communities. So they came back at the end of the day with a grand total of what the damage was like. It is that, Madam Speaker, that total that the government went out and tried to get money. So it included the damage to those persons who had to fix their roofs themselves. So why is it that you're coming to the parliament to get $36 million and you get money elsewhere? And because of these people's own effort, because of their terrible condition that they've had to endure, you're going to eliminate them from a refund? Come on, man. That can't be right, Madam Speaker. There are people, and I know an explanation has been given, you have different tiers with respect to damages and so on. But there are people in my constituency who are literally refugees in community centers. They can't go back home.
Honourable Member, you have just about 10 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes. No,
It is
I take
time
account of that.
that we see some urgency to get these people out of the community centers and the resource center. Madam Speaker, one last item on housing. I know we've been hearing the mantra, of how many houses and so on, and this government, NDP government, has built none and all of that. And I've heard in a budget presentation like 2 years ago that there is a demarcation. There is a philosophical point of departure between the operation of the Unity Labour Party government and the NDP government with respect to housing, because they have been making or building houses. But I want to say to the people of this country and the people of South Leeward who have their homes now, lovely homes, because they built on Crown land, yes, that was a philosophical point of departure between the government, the ULP government, and the NDP government, because the NDP is a government that introduced land for the landless. And if it was up to this government, you could not occupy Crown land. You can't dispute it because it is in the budget. It is written in black and white. So, Madam Speaker, what we need to do as, when we look at our housing stock and so on, is try to make our people resilient. That is a word that we hear a lot of, in climate change. But if we make our people resilient by creating employment for them, improving their economic status, they will not, so many people will not have to be relying on government to fix their roofs if there is a storm. So the modus operandi of the New Democratic Party is to create employment and ensure that they are paid better than what is offered today. Finally, Madam Speaker, a word on the environment. A word on the environment, Madam Speaker. In the budget presentation by the Honourable Minister of Finance, we understand the warnings that were given of how many beaches we can lose if climate change goes on unabated. I listened to an interview on BBC, Madam Speaker, Hard Talk. And there was a certain gentleman by the name of Jim Skier as a guest. And he is the head of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And he had this to say: we have gone past the stage of mitigation with respect to climate change. I have come to this parliament, I've asked questions, because the main center of economic activity, Madam Speaker, is between Kaliako here and, let us say, Bokoment Bay. But I asked a question between Kaliako and Bokoment Bay. What is the government doing to protect those areas from coastal erosion? Because with climate change, Madam Speaker, once there's global warming, the likelihood of the ice, a lot of water, the icebergs locked up in ice, high temperatures can melt them. And once they melt, Madam Speaker, what is likely to happen is that there is rising sea levels. We are all cognizant of that. So if we have rising sea level, not only will our beaches be destroyed, but because of the geographical location of those businesses in the center of activity, they too can become inundated. So what do we do? What do we do? What did James Skeer say in that interview on the BBC? We now have to talk about adaptation. How do we live with that? What do we do at this stage? What is the government doing to ensure that low-lying areas, which are under threat, are protected? Madam Speaker, one of the ways that we can mitigate the effects of climate change is by ensuring that we have a lot of trees around us. Because we know from science, whenever we exhale the carbon dioxide, it is taken up and recycled by plants. So the more greenery we have, it is better for the environment. But this government that talks so much about climate change have been actively involved in deforestation. Or, if they have not been involved in deforestation, they have sanctioned it. They have aided and abetted, and there's no better example than what is happening, or what has happened in Richmond. We even heard mention about quarry acceleration in the activity for 2025. But while that is happening, Madam Speaker, removing the trees and that enormous volume of topsoil can create an ecological disaster. Some people may not be able to see it, but there is no single country, Madam Speaker, because the benchmark here is ensuring that global temperature does not rise to above 1.5 degrees Celsius.
Above pre-industrial level.
Yes. So nobody wants to see it getting to that stage, because that is where we can see the beginning of the end for a lot of islands, and we are not exempted. But Madam Speaker, no country is responsible for for emitting gases to raise global temperature to 1.5. It is a trickle from each country, systematic. It's an aggregation. But how do we measure it? But we're talking about local climate. We're not just talking about global climate. It is not just global climate. It has the potential to change local temperatures, local weather pattern. So when you're looking, you don't look beyond what is happening to the locals. The point I am making here, Madam Speaker, is that we too are contributors. Yeah, I can swim. I can swim. I can swim. And not only that, Madam Speaker. The ocean itself, and we have been talking so much about, we've heard so much about surface water getting warmer. And the warmer the ocean temperature is, that is surface water, because as you go to a deeper depth, the temperature gets lower. So we're talking about the surface. But when you remove topsoil, so close, and there is a stream very close to the sea, you have soil being dissolved into a solution and make their way into the sea, making the sea very murky. The turbidity of the water now, Madam Speaker, blocks out sunlight from getting close at a deeper depth. It has implication for coral reef, Madam Speaker. So our own action is detrimental. We can be the architect of our own destruction. But it looks very minuscule. It looks very innocent. But the absence of coral reefs, Madam Speaker, it is the absence of what is really usually referred to as polyps. Planktons, polyps and planktons, zooplanktons and phytoplanktons. The phytoplanktons, Madam Speaker, are the tiny, tiny plant organisms. The zooplanktons are the tiny marine animal organisms. So essentially that is the beginning of the food chain that we're talking about. So when we talk about climate change, Madam Speaker, and those countries that are responsible, those countries that we refer to as the emitters, our own action is also contributing. So for those who think I'm swimming in deep water, the thing is, I know my limits. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. But there are some people who don't know the difference. But I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. So if I swim in a deep hole, pal, I'm very calculative. I know how to get out before I get in. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
For the debates, yes, I recognize the Honourable Minister of Tourism. Honourable Minister, if you just give me a few seconds, let me set your time up.